I'm about to show you the 3 easiest ways to come up with unique melodies every single time. And the best part is you don't need to know barely any music theory, like the most tiny amount. And I'm gonna show you everything in this video. So even if you don't know it up until this point, you're gonna be perfectly good to go after watching this video. When it comes to making unique melodies, it's very important to have different ways that you actually go about making the melody. Because if you just use the same technique every single time, your stuff's always gonna end up sounding the same. So we're gonna start off by actually writing something on the keyboard. You can either draw it in or play with your MIDI. The next way is we're actually going to be using some different MIDI files from our new pack Solstice to create a full song. And the last one, we're actually going to be taking stems from different loops and combining them together to make brand new ideas. And I'm going to show you a bunch of sampling techniques that are really great for making unique melodies as well. Okay, so for this first one, we're actually going to pull up just FL keys, and I'm going to pull up the piano roll real quick. So a lot of times what I like to do is I'm not that good at playing, so I don't record it. I actually just start to click notes on here and then I'll draw it in, okay? I'll start with just a simple bass line essentially. If you don't know much music theory, I'm gonna teach you kind of the basics. First off, for this video's sake, I'm not gonna go super deep. The thing I want you to know is only use the white keys, okay? That's either gonna put you in A minor or C major. And from there, we can kind of get to anywhere we need to go, roughly. So just to keep it real simple, if you wanna make a chord progression, we're gonna start on this note right here. And this is gonna put us into A minor, okay? So let's start with the first note. And then I'm just gonna randomly click somewhere else and see what else I kind of like. Okay, I mean, I can kind of mess with that, right? So watch this, I'm just gonna draw it in. It goes ba, ba, ba. No, you know, that third one's kind of weird. So what I'll do is I'll kind of, da, da, da. Yeah, let's go there next. So I kind of click it, I draw, and I draw it in, okay? Okay, cool. So there's like just a start to a minor chord progression in A minor. And even if you don't know what keys to click, I can... Like as long as I just use the white keys and I start at A minor, you're gonna be kind of good to go. If you wanted to make it a little bit happier, you could do the same technique, but start here, right? So it's just a starting point changes because it sounds a little happier, right? Like this. Like just a little bit happier tone, right? That puts you in C major instead of A minor. But let's keep going here. Now that we have our bass chord, we're gonna actually put chords on top of it. And the real idiot's guide to thinking about this is kind of just like, imagine you were to play like 4 notes, but you're just gonna skip one in between, right? So instead of just this, you skip this white key and you hit this one. You skip this white key and then you hit this one. You skip the white key and then you hit this one, right? So now, there's our chord, right? This is kind of like an easy way to think about it. Of course, we can go deep, but don't forget this video is for people who don't know shit about music theory. Actually, it's for knuckleheads like me. All right. So there we go. There's our first chord. Then we're gonna go down to the next one, do the same trick. Just skip a white note in between each one. And then next I go up to G. That's where we put our first note. So we're just gonna do the same thing. See, I'm just clicking it here and then I'm just drawing it in. Good, okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're going to bring out the bass line a little bit more. So we're just gonna duplicate the bottom layer. You can just hit Control down or you can just go down an octave. And now we're gonna add just a little bit of a bass note to this piano. And one cool thing you can do, technically the chord works kind of no matter how you have it set up. So I actually like to grab this second note inside the chord and I grab it and I move it up and it just kind of gives it a little bit different of a feel. The first step of the song is done. But you guys are about to see you can actually do a lot with that. So now we're going to bring in the full version of the Solstice production suite. I'm going to show you how we can take this and start beefing it up. The first thing is a sound design. And if you're not a great sound designer, you're actually going to love this, okay? So in the One Shot collection, we have a bunch of different sounds. You don't need any VSTs. Every DAW essentially has a sampler with it. All you have to do is find one you like or find multiple, and we're gonna use those same notes we just used to build the chords on a new sound, and it's gonna bring so much more life over the stock piano. So let's find something we like. I'm gonna bring in a couple, because I don't know what's gonna sound good and it's kind of more trial and error. Okay, cool. So now, you can Control X to cut that out, or you can also Control C and Control V and copy it. But if I Control X here, I can copy it out. Now I'm just gonna paste the chords in there. And now the new sound is actually gonna be that one shot we dragged in from Solstice. I'm gonna try out these other sounds just real quick. Ooh, okay, this one's amazing, but you hear that bleed? It's starting to bleed, okay? Essentially what's happening is that the first sound's playing, and when the new sound plays, they're on top of each other. That's just because of the envelope settings, okay? So when you bring this in, if you just bring the attack up and then just put this release down a little bit, when it let goes of the notes and plays the next one, it won't bleed into each other. There we go. So what I did there was I took the entire set of chords and I copy and pasted them, and I just moved them up an octave. So now it's just a much bigger sound. It essentially has 2 layers. Let me find a lead now. A lot of people like to play it out, but I'm a drawer. Now we got a little extra melody kind of going with it. If you pull in different sounds and these little extra counter melodies, what they can do is they can just add a little extra something to keep the listener interested. Okay, so we're gonna keep going here. Another thing you can do, a little trick here, I'm gonna copy and paste a set of these notes. If you do, almost all DAWs have this, like an arpeggiator. So if you Alt A, I can start playing with, it'll arpeggiate it, create like a little rhythmic pattern with the same notes. You know what's funny? I might even only play with this first set. So now that we got some basic chords, a basic little counter melody on this, I'm actually going to drag in and try to find a little vocal loop to sit on top of the melody. Oh, no. Something kind of like this. This is an A minor, so I'm just going to kind of make it easy for myself. See if I can find a percussion loop. Okay, first idea is done. So that's for the people who really want to, like, you know, play around with making your own chord progression from scratch. I'm going to show you the cheat code way that makes you move way fucking faster, okay? And it's going to be using MIDI. The reason I say that is because if you're not really great at music theory, that's going to take you a long fucking time. And honestly, like even my chord progression, I just spent 20 something fucking minutes and I didn't love it, but I don't necessarily have that much creative power to keep flipping it. So the next way we're going to start a song is we're going to go back into these one shots and we're going to find another one shot we like. And immediately we're gonna dive into the MIDI collection and I'm gonna find some sick chords like right away. I kind of fuck with this one for like an R&B type beat, so we're gonna roll with it. But what we're gonna do here, now I wanna start prototyping different sounds just in case I kind of like something else, you know? So I'm actually gonna clone this for a second. I bet you if I add memory on top, which is a free plugin of ours, just by default, maybe turn down the depth just a little bit. You see how using MIDI, you immediately get access to more? Why? Because it actually takes the creativity, and instead of using your creativity to generate the melodies, what you're doing is you're using your taste to select what you like. I'm using my taste for the sound selection. I'm using my taste for the actual musical selection. And now I'm gonna keep searching through more stuff, and I'm still ending up with creative options that have never been made before, but I'm not birthing everything from scratch, which helps you avoid burnout, helps you find new areas. And a lot of it, I'm going based on my ear. So let's keep going here. So like maybe try something like this. Sometimes I like to mix and match them, do different things. So I like the call and response going on here. We're gonna find actually something else. I'm just trying out some textures. These are just more sitting in the background. I already have so much dynamicism. Why? Because one, I have this amazing chords and melodies I've already begun with. Something that I was already in love with from the very beginning. The other one, I kind of felt pot committed on a chord progression I didn't love. Right here, I have some call and response melodies. So already there's like this guy and girl singer feeling with this like sax player hanging out with him, call and response going with it. And then I have these textures just adding to the mood, and all together within 5 minutes, because I had so much more selection at the beginning stage for making this melody, I was able to find something a lot cooler. Why? Because it's just more at bats. This one already has a lot more potential just because of the way I started it. So this is getting closer to how I like to make music, because I like to make music very quickly and try out different ideas. So these respaces inside Solstice are great. Very nice tones. There we go. Melody number 2 is done, and we did it in absolutely no time flat. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start a melody by sampling. I think this is actually one of the most powerful, because not only am I going to be using sampling, but I'm also going to be using a couple techniques from the first 2 ways that we made unique melodies, and it's going to essentially rip the gates open for creativity and allow you to do a lot. So let's dive right in. Ooh, what is this? The fuck is this? This one has a lot of little counter melodies and stuff going on, so I already know, like, okay, cool, those are new stem layers that I can rearrange, maybe build the song around those things, and can sound a lot different. Next thing I do is I immediately start checking different pitches on the full melody loop, not the stems, because it's a lot of headache to pitch 6 different stems at once. So like that one, a little more moody. Let me try a different BPM as well. Kind of stuck on that original BPM. That's fine. Look how many layers there are to play with, okay? This is why I'm obsessed with working with stem layers, because there's so much. The bad part is I'm about to have to pitch all these. Okay, so as I'm listening, the first thing I notice here in this second half, love this, right? And then what we found is this little pocket. And I think this could be like the start of the song almost, right? Because this is such an incompleted idea. I like to add these little accent Foley sounds with the drums, because if you listen to them, just gives it a little like feel, you know? That one's kind of fire. Cool, so here's the original loop. Right? And just after a little messing around, we were able to turn it into this. And the whole reason is that I was just auditioning different sections of it. The cool ideas were already there. The sauce was already there. The little accents were already there. But the reality of it is that when you pitch, when you stretch, when you combine different things, when you take out different layers, the story becomes dramatically different of how the melody sounds. And I do a big combination of this as well as using MIDI files to essentially rapidly proto-test stuff, because you're able to use your ear a lot more rather than your brain to kind of generate every single idea. And that's the exciting thing about this production suite. In Solstice, you're essentially able to jump into so many different styles of music, combine different stem layers, and find new areas of music, and essentially find brand new sounds that match you as a producer. And the cool part is that regardless of how you want to start your melodies, do you want to start just raw on the keyboard and have a really sick one-shot collection to get started with? Do you want to start with some cool drum samples? Do you want a vocal sample to build upon? Do you want to start with using sampling techniques and having over 300 melody loops to sample from? Do you want the stem layers? Do you want MIDI files? It essentially has everything you need to get started. You're essentially never going to run into beat block. You're going to be finishing more music, and the stuff's going to be better because you're not going to be spending a long time on every single melody. You're actually going to be able to rapid fire ideas and prototype a bunch of different ideas, and the ones that you absolutely love, those are the ones you're going to be able to spend a lot of time on. Anyways, I hope you guys learned a few things from watching these techniques, and if you guys want to have full access to the Solstice production suite, Friday at June 14th, we're releasing 1,000 licenses of Solstice. Once all 1,000 licenses are sold out, you're not going to be able to get the production suite. Not to mention there's that new plugin Corrosion that you're going to be getting exclusive access to, and we've decided to include another bonus, which is a free plugin of your choice from the Cymatics store. You get to choose which one you want. You'll also be getting that for free. There's a bunch of bonuses, and we're really excited about this exclusive production suite. And if you haven't yet, just jump on that wait list. That's essentially going to give you a 1-hour head start over the public release. So if you want a best chance of securing one of those licenses, definitely get on that wait list. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video on melody creation, and I hope it's going to help you make more stuff, especially if you get your hands on something like Solstice. If you have any questions about melodies, just leave a comment below, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. Peace out.